Most of the time, the NBA gives us amazing plays, wild storylines, and unforgettable moments. But every now and then, the league gives us something even better, pure irony. You know, those moments where the exact opposite of what's supposed to happen ends up happening.
How about Bronny James starting in the NBA and LeBron's assigned to the G League?
Now, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure if some of these technically fit the definition of irony, but they sure feel like it.
Russell just went down. There was a foul.
There's so many things I could think about right now.
The irony of it all, right?
Isn't it?
As most NBA fans probably know, Pat Riley owns the term three-peat, which means that anytime anybody wants to put that phrase on a t-shirt, a hat, or hoodie, they gotta pay Pat Riley first. The reason Riley trademarked the phrase in the first place was because in the late 1980s, his Lakers were this close to doing it. They won back-to-back championships in 1987 and 1988, and going into the 1989 season, they were chasing their third straight title. And according to the people around the team, Riley overheard Byron Scott say the phrase three-peat in the locker room, and he liked it, so he filed an application to trademark it during that season, fully expecting the Lakers to complete the run. But here's the twist, they didn't. In 1989, the Lakers got swept in the finals, so Pat Riley owned three-peat, but couldn't use it for himself. But that didn't stop the money from rolling in, because just a couple years later, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls pulled it off. From 1991 to 1993, the Bulls won 3 straight, and every piece of merch that said three-peat on it sent money directly to Pat Riley. He earned about $300,000 in royalties off that first run alone. Then, when the Bulls did it again from 1996 to 1998, the licensing fees jumped, this time netting Riley around $600,000. And it didn't stop with basketball either. Riley collected revenue from the Yankees when they won 3 straight World Series from 1998 to 2000. He also collected from the Shaq and Kobe Lakers when they three-peated from 2000 to 2002. Even recently, he reportedly would have cashed in big if the Chiefs had pulled off a three-peat last season. And depending on how the Dodgers do next season, Riley might cash in on them too.
I talked to a good friend of mine yesterday on the plane, and he gave me the okay to use this phrase. Pat Riley, three-peat, let's go!
All because he trademarked a phrase he originally intended for his own Lakers, a feat his own teams never actually reached. That's the irony. Pat Riley owns the rights to the term three-peat. He profits every time another franchise pulls it off, and yet none of his teams ever actually three-peated. When you think of Tony Snell, it's hard not to have his most infamous game pop in your head first, where he was unable to record a single point, rebound, assist, steal, or block, despite playing 28 minutes against the Utah Jazz on February 24th, 2017. He was a starter for the Bucks that year, and had scored double-digit points in 3 straight games going into that fateful game, which made it all the more bizarre. He was on the court for a significant amount of time that night, but had little to no impact whatsoever, and as a result, whenever somebody puts up no stats, everybody refers to it as another Tony Snell game. But the ironic thing is, he had a game that was the polar opposite, what you would call a rare perfect game. On November 6, 2019, he went 9 for 9 from the field and had 24 points, 6 of those field goals coming from beyond the arc.
Cross court to Snell, he fires, he fills it. He still hasn't missed. 24 for Tony Snell. He is 9 out of 9.
Snell is definitely an interesting player. On one night, he could have an all-0 stat line, and then randomly hit you with a 100% field goal game the next night. And in 2021, he made history by becoming the first player to have a 50-50 and 100 season, 51% from the field, 57% from 3, and 100% from the free throw line. He's had a very strange career if you ask me. Just the other night against the Oklahoma City Thunder, Steph Curry made history. After more than 1,000 games across 17 seasons, Curry did something he had never done before. And while that sounds impressive, it definitely wasn't a positive milestone. In the final seconds of the first quarter, Curry closed out on an Isaiah Joe three-pointer. It looked like a routine contest, something he's done thousands of times, but the whistle blew. At first, it just seemed like a basic shooting foul. Then, the refs immediately headed to the monitor. After reviewing the play, the official officials ruled it a flagrant 1 on Curry. They said he stepped into Joe's landing space, a key point of emphasis in today's NBA to protect shooters. And just like that, the very rule designed to protect shooters like Stephen Curry was suddenly being used against him. Fans couldn't believe it. Curry's first ever flagrant foul ends up being for a hard closeout and a landing space violation, something Warriors fans argue almost never gets called in his favor, even though he deals with dangerous closeouts constantly as the greatest shooter ever. But the irony goes deeper than that, because the entire reason the NBA started cracking down on landing space fouls in the first place goes back to one infamous moment in 2017, Zaza Pachulia sliding under Kawhi Leonard. And guess who Zaza was teammates with when that happened? Steph Curry. That single play reshaped how the league handles flagrant fouls, and nearly a decade later, it came full circle, leading to Steph picking up the first flagrant of his career. You have to imagine Steph had no idea back then that Zaza's closeout wouldn't just change that postseason, it would change his own future. If not for that moment, Curry realistically could have gone his entire career without getting a flagrant. It's not like he's the type of player who racks up those calls, but because the league tightened the rule, the odds eventually caught up to him. Fans all over the NBA world argued whether Steph's closeout even deserved a flagrant, but no matter which side you're on, Curry can kind of point the finger at his former teammate for indirectly snapping his pristine streak. Then again, Zaza's closeout basically gift-wrapped the Warriors a championship in 2017, so maybe Steph's okay with that trade-off in the end. You know what's one of those NBA ironies that almost nobody ever talks about? The fact that Michael Jordan actually got hurt in the NBA before Sam Bowie did, even though Bowie was the one everyone labeled as the injury risk.
After both were named to the All-Rookie team, it was Jordan, and not Bowie, who went down early in his second season with an injury.
Now, of course, we all know that Bowie came into the league with a huge red flag already attached. He had that major leg injury at Kentucky long before either of them ever touched an NBA court, so his reputation was already set in stone. Super talented, but fragile. But here's the crazy part. For a short window, the Portland Trail Blazers felt pretty good about choosing Bowie over Jordan, because in Jordan's second season, he broke his foot and missed most of the year. Meanwhile, Bowie, the guy everyone was terrified would get hurt, was still standing.
He broke a bone in his foot and missed almost the whole year. A lot of people were looking like, wow, I'm glad we drafted Bowie instead of Jordan.
Obviously, as time went on, the script completely flipped. Jordan got healed and turned into the greatest player we've ever seen. And Bowie unfortunately became the one who couldn't escape the injury bug. But that one little wrinkle, that Jordan was actually the first of the two to get injured in the NBA, is one of those ironic details nobody ever brings up. From 2007 to 2009, the Oklahoma City Thunder pulled off one of the wildest draft streaks in NBA history. 3 straight drafts, 3 future MVPs. That's absolutely insane when you think about it. But even with all that superstar talent, not a single one of those guys ended up bringing a championship to OKC. Now here's where things take an ironic turn. The Thunder did eventually get an MVP who delivered them that long-awaited championship, but he wasn't one of the players they originally drafted. I don't know about you guys, but that feels pretty ironic. OKC's first MVP-led title came from someone outside of their legendary homegrown trio. Who could have predicted that? And the irony didn't stop there. Opening night rolls around, and who's standing right there watching them raise their championship banner? Kevin Durant. The scheduling gods really lined up the timing for that one. Then, after the game, Chet Holmgren joined the NBA on NBC crew to talk about the whole banner ceremony. And this is where it gets even more ironic. Chet proudly holds up his championship ring for the camera, right in front of 3 absolute legends on the panel, who sadly never managed to win a ring themselves. It created this awkward, unintentionally hilarious moment that just added another layer to the night. It was a night packed with irony from start to finish. You really couldn't script it any better.